Welcome back to Midnight Affair Tales. Thank you for joining us. The night had been perfect, or at least that's what I thought. Emily and I were leaving my company's annual gala, her arm looped through mine as we walked to the car. She looked stunning in a deep red dress, her dark curls framing her face as she laughed at some joke I couldn't even process. My mind was still caught up in the promotion I had just secured. Vice President of Operations. Years of hard work, long nights, and sacrifices had finally paid off. Everything in my life felt stable, secure, until my phone vibrated in my pocket. I slid into the driver's seat, pulling my phone out while Emily adjusted her dress, scrolling through her own notifications. Unknown number, you deserve the truth. Emily isn't who you think she is. Check the hotel parking lot security feed. Room 512. My stomach clenched. For a second, my mind refused to process it. This had to be a joke. A mistake. I stared at the message, rereading it, hoping I had somehow misread. But the words stayed the same, standing out in sharp contrast against my screen. I glanced at Emily. She was humming to herself, smiling as she texted someone. Was it him? My grip tightened around the phone. My heartbeat pounded in my ears, drowning out the sound of the traffic. I could ignore this. Delete the message. Go home, pretend nothing happened. Believe that my wife was the person I thought she was. I could find out the truth. I took a slow breath, my fingers curling around the steering wheel. What would I see if I actually checked? I knew a guy. Greg worked security at the Regency Hotel, one of my college buddies who had landed a boring but well-paying job behind surveillance cameras. I hadn't talked to him in months, but tonight I needed him. I pulled into a gas station near the hotel, pretending to check my phone. Hey babe, I just remembered, I need to send an urgent email before tomorrow morning. It's about the new position. Emily barely looked up. Oh yeah, sure. Just don't take forever. She was distracted, thumbs flying over her screen. Who was she texting? David? I stepped out of the car, breathing in the cold night air. My hands were shaking as I dialed Greg's number. He picked up on the second ring. Jason? Long time, man. Hey Greg. Listen, I need a favor. I need to check the security footage from the parking lot tonight. It's important. There was silence on the line. Then, you got some trouble? I clenched my jaw. Yeah, you could say that. Can you do it or not? Greg exhaled. All right, but you owe me. I'm on break, meet me at the side entrance. I ended the call, my chest tight with something between fear and fury. The hotel was just a few minutes away. I parked near the back and walked in through a side entrance, my heart hammering like a war drum. Greg was waiting by the staff door, coffee in hand. This better not get me fired, he muttered, leading me to the security room. He pulled up the footage. I gave him the timestamp from the message. My fingers curled into a fist as I watched. There she was. Emily slipping out of a black sedan. Her hair was styled differently than at the gala. She wasn't wearing her wedding ring. And then a second figure appeared. David Carter. My boss. They exchanged glances before she pulled him by the hand into the hotel. Room 512. I felt my entire world tilt. Emily hadn't just cheated tonight. She had planned this. Carefully. Behind my back. I forced myself to breathe. Not yet. Revenge required patience. I had what I needed. I turned to Greg. Delete the log that I accessed this footage? His eyebrows raised. Shit. That bad? I didn't answer. I just walked out. How long had she been lying to me? I walked back to the car like a ghost. Emily looked up, smiling. All done? I nodded, sliding into the driver's seat. I had to act normal. She glanced at me. You okay? I forced a chuckle. Yeah. Just tired. She stretched her arms, letting out a sigh. Me too. Tonight was fun, though. I gripped the wheel. Fun. She had spent the night with him, and now she was sitting next to me, acting like a loving wife. I needed to keep my composure. Emily didn't know I knew. And that gave me the advantage. I let her ramble about the party. Her coworkers, the music, the champagne. She never once mentioned David. She was good at lying. Too good. I tested her. Hey, did you get a chance to talk to David tonight? I barely saw him. Her expression didn't change. Oh no, I think he left early. You know how he is. I smiled. She was lying to my face. I clenched the wheel tighter, my mind already crafting a plan. She thought she had won. Thought she was in control. But this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. How much could I take from her before she even realized she had lost? The moment we got home, Emily yawned and stretched. "I'm exhausted," she murmured. "I think I'll shower and head to bed." I watched her disappear into the bathroom, humming a soft tune, like she had no care in the world. Like she hadn't just been with another man hours ago. I sat on the edge of the bed, my mind racing. I couldn't act on impulse. I needed more. More proof. More power. More control. I grabbed my laptop and began my work. First, I logged into our home Wi-Fi system. I wasn't an IT expert, but I knew enough to check device history and location data. Emily had been careless. Multiple login attempts from Regency Hotel's Wi-Fi. Frequent location check-ins at restaurants, parking lots, and coffee shops I'd never been to. A burner email account linked to reservations under different names. She wasn't just sleeping with David. They had a whole secret routine. I clenched my jaw, my hands trembling. Next, I went through her iCloud. She thought she was smart by deleting texts, but deleted files aren't truly gone. A few clicks later, and I had screenshots of messages she had sent to David. "I can't wait to see you tonight. Jason's so clueless. He's like a puppy, he never questions a thing. Once he gets promoted, I'll start moving money into my account. Then I'll be free." My stomach turned. She was using me. Not just cheating, plotting to drain me financially before leaving. I took a deep breath, forcing the rage down. I couldn't explode. Not yet. I opened my email and began forwarding everything to a private account. Every message. Every screenshot. Every location check-in. Emily was still in the shower, completely unaware that the walls around her were already crumbling. She thought she had control. But now, was my game. The next morning, I acted like nothing was wrong. I kissed Emily's cheek, brewed coffee, and even offered to make her breakfast. She smiled at me, completely unaware of what was coming. "Wow, you're in a good mood today," she said, sipping her coffee. I smiled. "Oh, you have no idea." Emily left for brunch with her friends, probably to talk about how much of an idiot I was, and I got to work. I made a list. 1. Move all finances into my personal account. 2. Find out how to expose David without getting my hands dirty. 3. Set Emily up so that she signs something that will leave her with nothing. 4. Make them both suffer. Publicly. I sat back, staring at the list. My heart was pounding in my chest, but not from fear. From anticipation. I wasn't just going to leave her. I was going to destroy her. But I needed to be smart. Revenge was best served cold. The real question was, how far was I willing to go? For the next 2 weeks, I played my role perfectly. I was the loving husband. The forgiving, clueless fool. The supportive partner. Emily fell right into the act. She giggled over dinner, texted David under the table, and smiled at me like nothing was wrong. But behind the scenes, I was setting up her downfall. I met with my lawyer and drafted documents to move all assets under my name. I spoke with David's wife, Amanda, planting the first seed of doubt in her mind. I recorded every lie Emily told me, every fake excuse she gave, every moment she betrayed me. I even started acting more distant. Not enough to make her suspicious. Just enough to make her think I was losing interest. One night, as she scrolled her phone in bed, I caught a glimpse of her screen. A text from David. "We need to be more careful. I think Jason's been acting weird." I held back a smirk. "Oh, David, you have no idea." Emily locked her phone and turned to me, running her fingers down my arm. "You've been so busy lately," she whispered. "You okay?" I forced a small sigh. "Work stress. Just a lot going on." She kissed my shoulder. "You know you can talk to me, right?" "Talk to you? I was going to ruin you." I smiled. "Of course, babe." Emily had no idea that her entire world was about to burn. Emily thought she had me wrapped around her finger. She had no clue that I was tightening the noose around hers. The next step in my plan was simple. Cut off every financial safety net she thought she had. I took the day off work and met with my lawyer. "I need to move everything into my personal accounts," I told him. "And I want to remove Emily's access to all joint assets. Legally?" He raised an eyebrow. "Divorce?" "Not yet," I said. "I just want to protect myself." He gave me a slow nod. "Understood." Over the next few days I made my moves. Bank accounts? Locked. Credit cards? Cancelled. House. Legally transferred into my name alone. Car. Oh, she would soon find out that it wasn't hers to keep. The beauty of it? She wouldn't notice. She had no reason to check. She was too busy sneaking around with David to realize I was already one step ahead. Emily wasn't just going to lose everything. David was going down too. I arranged to accidentally bump into Amanda, David's wife, at a local coffee shop. She looked tired, worn down, probably just as oblivious to David's betrayal as I had been to Emily's. Jason. She looked surprised. Hey. Wow, it's been a while. I gave a small, tired smile. Yeah, long few weeks. She frowned. Everything okay? I hesitated, just enough to plant doubt. Then I sighed. I probably shouldn't say anything. Amanda's eyes sharpened. Say what? I played my role perfectly. I think you should check David's phone. That's all I'll say. Her expression shifted from confusion to deep concern. She stared at me for a moment and then she stood up. Thanks, Jason. The seed had been planted. And I knew Amanda well enough to know she wouldn't stop digging until she found the truth. I didn't have to wait long. The very next evening, Amanda made her move. David and Emily had no idea what was coming. I was sitting in my office when I heard Emily's phone explode with notifications. Her face paled as she read the messages. What's wrong? I asked, feigning concern. She swallowed hard, locking her phone. Oh, nothing. Just group chat drama. Liar. I casually unlocked my laptop and checked my email. And there it was. Amanda had gone nuclear. She had taken every message, every reservation, every hidden affair detail, and blasted it to the entire company. David was ruined. Emily was about to be. She got up suddenly. I need to step outside for a second. I watched as she rushed out the front door, phone pressed to her ear. I already knew who she was calling. David. And I already knew exactly what he was going to say. We're screwed. I sat on the couch, pretending to be lost in a football game while Emily paced outside, phone glued to her ear. Her voice was low but sharp. David, what the hell happened? I took a sip of my beer, listening intently. Are you serious? Amanda knows everything? How? Pause. No, I didn't say anything. Why would I? Another pause. Okay. We just need to be careful. Maybe she won't tell Jason? I smirked. Oh, Emily. You have no idea. A few minutes later, she came back inside, face flushed. She tried to act normal, but I could see the cracks forming. Everything okay? I asked casually. She forced a smile. Yeah, just work stuff. Liar. She sat down next to me, her fingers drumming anxiously on her knee. She was unraveling, trying to figure out how much I knew. I leaned back, stretching. Hey, babe. Crazy thing. Amanda texted me earlier. Her whole body stiffened. I watched the blood drain from her face. She did? I nodded, pretending to scroll through my phone. Yeah. Said she wanted to grab coffee. Guess David's been acting weird lately. I glanced at her, studying her reaction. Anything you think she might be upset about? Emily swallowed hard, shaking her head too quickly. No. Not that I know of. She was cracking. And I was going to shatter her. The next few days were glorious. Emily was spiraling, texting David at odd hours, looking over her shoulder. She was waiting for the moment her world came crashing down. And I was going to let her believe she still had a chance to escape. One evening, as we were getting ready for bed, I sighed heavily, running a hand down my face. Emily looked over. You okay? I hesitated, giving her the perfect opening. I don't know. I feel like something's off lately. I turned to her. With us. Her breath hitched. What do you mean? I shook my head. I don't know. I feel like we've been distant. Like you're keeping things from me. Her lips parted. She was panicking inside. I could see it. I ran a hand through my hair and sighed again. I don't want to be that paranoid guy, you know? I love you. I trust you. Maybe I'm just stressed from work. I watched her mind work a million miles a second. She saw her way out. She touched my arm gently. Jason, I love you too. And you have nothing to worry about. I smiled, forcing warmth into my voice. I know, babe. I think we should go to therapy. Maybe reconnect. You know? Emily blinked. Therapy? She hadn't expected that. But it made sense, didn't it? If I was feeling distant, therapy was a normal solution. She slowly nodded. Yeah, I think that would be good for us. She thought she had won. She thought she was safe. She had no idea what was coming next. While Emily was busy believing I was still her clueless, loving husband, I was putting the final nails in David's coffin. I sent an anonymous email to David's company board members. Every screenshot, every proof of misconduct, every text between him and Emily. It wasn't just about the affair. David had been using company funds for his little secret meetups. Lunches, hotels, gifts, all paid for with company money. And within 48 hours, it all came crashing down. David was called into an emergency board meeting. He was fired on the spot. His reputation? Destroyed. His financial stability? Gone. Emily didn't know yet, but she would soon. That night as we ate dinner, Emily was unusually quiet. She was waiting for the next bomb to drop. She didn't know it had already exploded. She just hadn't felt the blast yet. Emily's downfall was coming fast, and the best part? She was completely unaware that I was the one pulling the strings. After dinner, she sat on the couch, staring at her phone with an anxious expression. Something wrong? I asked, feigning concern. She forced a smile. No, just a long day. Liar. I knew exactly what she was waiting for, a message from David. But David wasn't going to text her. Not tonight. Not ever again. By the next morning, the news had spread. David Carter was out. Fired. Publicly disgraced. Finished. At work, my colleagues whispered about it in the break room. Did you hear? Carter got canned. Something about financial misconduct. Damn. Guess he wasn't as clean as he pretended to be. I sat at my desk, scrolling through the news article about David's termination, sipping my coffee like a man who hadn't just orchestrated his complete destruction. Then my phone buzzed. Emily. Emily, babe, can you transfer me some money? My card isn't working. I smiled. The financial news had tightened. I texted back, what's wrong with your card? A long pause. Then, Emily, I don't know. Maybe there's a glitch. Can you just send me some for now? I let her sit in her panic before replying. I'll check with the bank later. I wasn't going to send her a damn thing. Emily had always assumed she had control. She had planned to drain me, leave me, and run off with David. But now, David was gone and she had nothing. That night, Emily finally broke. She sat across from me at the dinner table, pushing her food around on her plate. Jason, she started carefully. I've been thinking a lot about us. I lifted an eyebrow. Oh? She swallowed. Yeah. I feel like we haven't been as connected lately. She gave me a weak smile. And I really want to fix that. I love you. I almost laughed. She didn't love me. She loved the security I provided. But I played along. I gave her a small, sad smile. I love you too, Em. Her eyes brightened. She thought she still had me. I just think maybe we need a fresh start, she continued. Maybe a trip? Just us. Somewhere nice. Oh, she was desperate. She thought a vacation would solve the mess she created. I sighed, pretending to be deep in thought. That sounds nice. But first, we should make sure everything's in order. Her eyebrows furrowed. What do you mean? I stood up and grabbed a folder from my desk. I was thinking, a legal agreement. Just so we both feel secure, you know? It's not a big deal, just some paperwork. I already had my lawyer draft it. I set it in front of her. Emily hesitated. What kind of paperwork? I smiled. It just confirms our assets. You know, to protect each other. In reality, it was a document signing over all financial rights to me. She hesitated for only a second before nodding. Yeah, that makes sense. And just like that, she signed away her entire safety net. She had no idea that she had just lost everything. I planned the final blow carefully. 2 weeks later, I invited all our friends and family to a recommitment dinner. A beautiful, elegant event where Emily would expect to be celebrated. She dressed in her best outfit, holding my hand as we walked into the venue. She thought we were fixing our marriage. She had no idea she was about to be destroyed. I clinked my glass. Thank you all for coming tonight, I said, smiling warmly. This evening is all about truth. About love. About honesty. I turned to Emily. Babe, I have a little surprise for you. Her eyes sparkled. You do? I nodded, pulling out my phone and connecting it to the projector screen. The room went silent as texts, photos, and videos appeared. Emily and David. Every message. Every hotel reservation. Every mocking text about how stupid I was. Gasps filled the room. Emily's face drained of all color. No, she whispered. I turned to her, my voice cold. You didn't think I knew? Her hands shook. Jason, please? I raised a hand. No. You don't get to speak. I looked around the room. Everyone in this room deserves to know who she really is. Emily broke down in tears. I leaned in, whispering so only she could hear. You lost. Now get out of my life. Emily ran out of the venue, sobbing. I turned back to my guests, raising my glass. Now who's ready for dessert? The room burst into applause. Emily had spent months plotting to ruin me. But in the end, I was the one who destroyed her. Emily didn't come home that night. I sat in my living room, sipping a glass of whiskey, staring at my phone as it buzzed over and over again with her calls. I didn't answer. She had spent years lying to me, sneaking around, planning to take everything I worked for and run off with another man. And now, she had nothing. Around midnight, my doorbell rang. I didn't even have to check, I knew it was her. I let her stand out there in the cold, knocking frantically. After a few minutes, I finally opened the door. Emily stood there, makeup streaked, hair messy, desperation in her eyes. Jason, please. Let me explain. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Explain what? That you've been screwing my boss for over a year? That you plan to take my money and leave me? That you thought I'd never find out? She swallowed hard. I made a mistake. I let out a sharp laugh. A mistake? I gestured to the night sky. Emily, a mistake is forgetting to pick up milk at the store. What you did. That was a goddamn betrayal. Tears welled up in her eyes. Please? I don't have anywhere to go. I tilted my head. That's not my problem, is it? She shook her head, stepping forward. Jason, I still love you. I took a step back. No. You loved what I could give you. The house, the money, the security. But me? I shook my head. You never loved me. Her face twisted in pain. Jason? I held up a hand. Get off my property, Emily. You don't live here anymore. Her eyes widened in horror. What? I smirked. You signed everything over to me, remember? Her breath hitched. She finally understood. She had signed away everything she had. And now, she had nothing. She opened her mouth, but I shut the door in her face. And locked it. For the first time in a long time, I felt free. Emily wasn't the only one who had lost. David had completely fallen apart. After being fired, his wife Amanda kicked him out. He had no job, no money, and his reputation was in the gutter. One morning, I got a text from an old coworker. Coworker, dude, you won't believe this. David's applying for jobs at half the salary he used to make. No one will hire him. I leaned back in my chair, smiling. It wasn't just that he lost his job. He lost everything. His house was under Amanda's name. His savings? Amanda had frozen their accounts. And Emily? Well, she was in no position to help him. Later that afternoon, I stopped by a coffee shop near our old office. That's when I saw him. David Carter, my former boss. He was sitting alone at a corner table, unshaven, suit wrinkled, staring at his phone. Probably waiting for someone to offer him another high-paying job. I walked past him, made sure he saw me, and gave him a slow smirk. His face turned red with rage. He knew. He knew that I had been the one to destroy him. And there wasn't a damn thing he could do about it. I ordered my coffee, walked past him again, and muttered just loud enough for him to hear. I win. Then I walked out. 3 months passed. 3 months of peace. Emily had disappeared from my life completely. She had been too embarrassed to reach out to anyone. I heard through some mutual connections that she was bouncing between cheap motels and couch surfing. She had no money, no friends, no future. And me? I thrived. With David gone, I was promoted to his old position. I was making more money, living my best life, and finally feeling free from the weight of betrayal. One afternoon, I got a call from Amanda. You really did it, she said, a hint of amusement in her voice. I smirked. Told you I would. She sighed. You know, I don't even feel bad for them. I chuckled. Neither do I. She paused. So, now what? Now what, indeed? I had spent so much time plotting revenge, and now it was over. I had won. I had taken everything from them. Now, it was time to live. And I was going to make damn sure I never let anyone play me again. 3 months of peace had settled into my life, but that didn't mean Emily was completely out of my mind. One evening, I was walking through downtown heading to grab dinner, when I spotted a figure sitting on a bench. At first I didn't think anything of it, but then she lifted her head. Emily. She looked different. Her hair was unkempt, her makeup smudged, her once expensive clothes now wrinkled and worn. She had lost weight, not in a healthy way but in a way that told me she had been struggling. She stared at me wide-eyed as if she wasn't sure if she should run or beg. I slowed my pace, giving her a long, measured look. Then I kept walking. No words. No reaction. Just complete indifference. And that was the final blow. Because I saw the way her face fell. She had been hoping for something, a second chance, an ounce of sympathy, a shred of hope. But she didn't deserve it. And she damn sure wasn't going to get it from me. A week later I was sitting in my new office, the same office David used to sit in. I had everything now. The title, the money, the respect. But most importantly, I had my self-respect. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through old messages. Everything Emily had ever said to me. Every lie. Every manipulation. Then I did something I should have done a long time ago. I deleted them all. A fresh start. No more anger. No more revenge. No more past weighing me down. Just the future. And the lesson? Never let anyone think they can use you. Never let anyone take advantage of your kindness. And when someone betrays you, make damn sure they regret it for the rest of their lives. Emily never recovered. I heard through some mutual connections that she had tried to find another rich guy to take care of her, but no one wanted her baggage. She had no job skills. No money. No one left to manipulate. She was trapped in the very life she tried to force me into. And David? He disappeared off the radar. Probably drowning in debt, unable to get back the life he lost. As for me, I moved on. I thrived. Because in the end, revenge wasn't just about getting even. It was about making sure they never forgot the mistake they made. And Emily? She would never forget. Months passed and Emily was nothing more than a distant memory, until she wasn't. One evening I was out grabbing dinner at a high-end steakhouse with some colleagues. The conversation was light, the drinks flowing. I was enjoying the life I had rebuilt, a life that no longer had the stain of betrayal. And then I saw her. Emily. She wasn't inside the restaurant, no, she was outside, standing near the entrance, dressed in cheap clothes, her hair a mess. She wasn't begging, but she looked like someone who had hit rock bottom. For a brief second, our eyes met through the glass window. She froze. I didn't react. Didn't give her any sign that I even cared. And that was enough to shatter her. She turned quickly, walking away with her head down, disappearing into the crowded streets of the city. I leaned back in my chair, taking a slow sip of my whiskey, feeling nothing but satisfaction. She was a ghost now. A shadow of what she once was. And the best part? She did it to herself. Emily wasn't the only one who had lost everything. David had already been fired, humiliated, and left with nothing. But karma wasn't done with him yet. I got an unexpected call from Amanda one afternoon. "You're going to love this," she said, amusement in her voice. I smirked. "Oh yeah. He got arrested." I nearly laughed. "For what?" "Turns out, after losing his job, he got desperate," she explained. "Tried to start some shady business venture and ended up getting caught in a fraud investigation." I shook my head. Pathetic. The man who once looked down on me, who thought he could take what was mine, was now a complete disgrace. "I guess he finally hit rock bottom," I muttered. Amanda chuckled. "Guess so. But between you and me, he deserved worse." I grinned. "Oh, I know." David was finished. And I never had to lift a finger. One evening I got home late from work, feeling at peace for the first time in a long time. The past year had been a whirlwind of betrayal, revenge, and rebuilding. But I had come out on top. As I poured myself a drink, my phone buzzed. A text. "Unknown number, Jason, please. I just want to talk. Emily." I stared at the message for a long moment, my thumb hovering over the screen. And then, I deleted it. No response. No acknowledgement. She wasn't worth my time. She was already living her punishment. And me? I had finally moved on. Weeks passed and I thought I was finally free of Emily's shadow. Until one night she showed up at my doorstep. I had just gotten home from work when I heard a faint knock. Slow. Hesitant. I opened the door and there she was, a shell of the woman she used to be. Her hair was messy, her clothes wrinkled. Dark circles sat under her eyes, her once confident posture replaced by slumped shoulders. For a moment we just stared at each other. She was waiting for me to say something. I didn't. Her voice cracked. Jason, please? I raised an eyebrow. Please what? She swallowed hard. Can we just talk? I know I don't deserve anything from you, but I have nowhere else to go. I leaned against the doorframe, crossing my arms. The audacity. This woman had once laughed at me behind my back, plotted to leave me for my boss, planned to rob me blind. And now, she was begging. I tilted my head. You expect me to help you? Tears filled her eyes. I don't expect anything, she exhaled shakily. I messed up. I know I did. I lost everything. And I just don't know what to do anymore. I studied her. She wasn't lying. For once in her life she was being honest. But it didn't matter. She had made her choice. You want my advice? I asked. She nodded quickly, eyes desperate. I leaned in, my voice low. Figure it out. Like I had to. Then I shut the door in her face. I stood there for a long moment, listening to her soft, broken sobs on the other side. But I felt nothing. This was what she deserved. The past year had changed me. I had gone from a trusting husband to a man who knew better. I had learned the hardest but most important lesson of my life. Red Circle, never trust blindly. Red Circle, never let someone else dictate your worth. Red Circle, and most importantly, always be ready for betrayal. Emily had underestimated me. David had underestimated me. And in the end, I was the one still standing. I had moved on, leveled up, and thrived. And them? They had rotted in the beds they made for themselves. But I wasn't just going to walk away from this experience with anger. I was going to walk away stronger, wiser, unbreakable. Because if there was one thing I had learned, it was this. Betrayal only makes you weak if you let it. And me? I would never be weak again. 1 year later, I was standing on the balcony of my new penthouse apartment, watching the city skyline as the sun set. Life had never been better. I had moved into a new home, gotten a higher position at work, and surrounded myself with people who actually respected me. I was finally free. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts. For a moment, my eyes landed on a number that I had refused to delete. Emily. I hadn't spoken to her since the night she showed up at my doorstep. For all I knew, she was still scraping by, barely surviving. But it didn't matter anymore. She was nothing to me. I held down the contact name. Delete contact? I pressed yes. And just like that, she was erased from my life forever. As I set my phone down, I took a deep breath and smiled. I had won. Not just the revenge. Not just the battle. But my life. And this was only the beginning.